So, welcome to our next lecture here. This will be the last of our course. We have been discussing the presentation that was given earlier today. If you recall, there was a announcement, mentioned that last night, to meet with Scott Trudeau here. And Scott is an employee of Adobe, and he's contracted by Adobe, one or the other. And the purpose of his presentation was to go over a few of the applications, or at least one in each type of application, and explain some of the things you can do. He spoke a lot about how applications now, like Photoshop, for example, is extended to facilitate people learning some skills that are usually held by other applications. He also shows about the shared folder for collaboration. It's really quite good. And they're going to be posting a link to the recording, and I'll put that in as an announcement. That was really good. I'm glad we had that. And several of the members of the class were present. Thank you, Maria. So again, this week, we're just finishing up on our animation. The skills that we've learned, such as motion tweens and fades, are all that we really need. We haven't made music a requirement, but I'm really hoping that you use it just because I think it would be good for it. Last night we went over that. Only one student has needed to include, or was asking about including video. But they were going to include the animation. Right, but I think they changed their mind. That student had changed their mind. Okay, I'm looking at your questions here. Yeah, last the recording, there was over 60 people who showed up. Kim wants me to point out the wording of the requirement on week 2. Is he referring to this one here, Kim? I guess it just says gather and create your assets, and so there's a list of assets that you can create. So that's probably what you're referring to. Yeah, this one is Foundational 5 in JavaScript. All right, let's bring up our button sample. I wanted to pick this up where we left off. And you've already known about objects, and now this is a symbol, which is a type button. So if you click on the symbol itself, it will have type button here as the symbol type. And as you can see here, it says instance of button home. This word instance is an important concept in Adobe Flash because it's one of the aspects that makes Adobe Flash such an amazing technology. Because when you have symbols in your library, you can drag them out and drop them, and this becomes a new instance. So it's unique from this. They both come from the original same symbol, and they're related in that respect, that they both came from the same symbol. But they're different in that they are unique instances. In fact, when you deal with scripting, the instance itself needs to be given a name. And in properties, there is a field for instance name. And here, you have to give it a name that's unique to anything else that's named in your project. So we can just type in button 1. And this is like giving a name to something. This doesn't affect the fact that this is an instance of button home, because both of these are instances of button home. If we click here on this one, you can notice that it is not yet named. You click on that field, you type in button 2. And it too is an instance of button home. Now, when a button, or when an instance of a symbol shares the same symbol from the library, what that means is when you edit the symbol itself, you end up impacting the instances that were related to it. For example, when I double click on the symbol, the button symbol in the library, it brings up just that button, you can tell. And you know that you're looking just at the button because right here is a link that states that it's like a navigation. And this says that you are in the middle of editing button home. If you want to exit out of the edit mode of button home, then you can either click on scene 1 or you can click back and we return to the stage. Now, you might wonder if you can get into the same edit screen by double-clicking an instance. And because these have different layers and you can, by double-clicking that, you go into the same thing. Just as you double-click on the symbol here, the button here, and you go into the edit mode, I turned it off, but you go into edit mode and you see it. Same if you're here and you go into the symbol itself. And right now I'm still out at the scene level. But these are, when you double click on it, you have a slightly different view, but you are still editing that symbol. Here in this view, we're seeing its proximity and presence where it's sitting with the others. When we come here to the library and we just double click, it's not a contextual situation where you're going into edit mode. Instead, you just have it here on the screen. So that's libraries, and then if you lock, select this. Now, here, that was text that I selected there. You turned off the text and clicked here, and so clicking on the text. My goal is to show you how to change the button color. Oops. Change the button color and see how that impacts the button color of the originating symbol, and to see how that impacts the other symbols that are instances of this. And so here, just the text field. In fact, I can also do it by showing you a similar concept by the fact that we do the text itself, and then we come out of here. So I'm going to show you how it's done with text. And you can see it just impacted both of the instances here and affecting both of those. Some people have noticed that here when you're selected on this one instance, you still have a color effect. And your color effect is, you might think, well, I'm changing the color effect on this one instance. Does that mean I'm changing the color effect of the original symbol? And the answer is no. And so, let me see if we can turn up red. Playing around different colors here. So we are impacting just this one instance. The other instance is not being impacted because these are properties. This one in particular is the color effect of this instance, button 1. So if I go into the library and double click on button home, you'll see that it's still light blue. And what's interesting is that when we go back into our scene, select this instance, look at the properties, you see that this is definitely an instance of button home, but it's a different color. This is just because we are changing the color effects of this particular symbol in this context. And in doing so, what it does is the color that it inherits from the symbol that it is, the button home symbol, it inherits those colors, but anything that's done with a change to the color effect will end up superseding the color that was done in the library. So it's like an override. See if I can change the, we're changing the text color. Let's do this, I'll make this one red, and then we'll make text white. So now we've changed it in the symbol. We can come back here. We've changed both, and yet we have the override going on with this one instance. So are there any questions about symbols and how they share their instances of how instances are come from a common, it's like a parent. By being able to clone, you're like cloning this symbol and creating a new instance, you are able to take advantage of smaller space. Yeah, you are like making copies of that original. But because if you're going to use a start and a stop button in your animation, then you don't want these to inherit from the same parent because of if you are wanting to have it look differently, or the scaling, this text, the color, it can be unique to the instance, but if you change it more, then it doesn't make sense to create a different we'll call this one button stop, for example. I'm going to delete that instance. Call that button stop. And when you edit just that, you can see we have the up. One thing we should do is change this so that when you mouse over, it will do something, and when you mouse down, it'll do something. So what are some of your ideas? Let's say we have a stop button. The moment that we mouse over, we could have it just look the same, or we can have it change. Make it bigger. Oh, Phil asked a question. Could you make a button green and says starts? Then when you click on it, it will change color and word to stop. I'm going to try that. I've not done that, but the way you would do it is you would have I'm thinking how to implement that. Let's see. When you click on it, that's an interesting thing. So let's think about that for just a second. We have, oops, I just scrolled accidentally. So I think your idea, let's do this. Grab another one here. See if me making a copy. I want to convert it to a symbol. And we'll say this is the start. Let's see, start. I'm going to try to do what you just said. So we'll have the start button. And let's see, change that to button start and button stop. And let's change the button start key. So it's a symbol. It's a shape symbol. And once you've created a symbol, let me do that with, we do this differently because we really need it. I want it to be just like this symbol here and this symbol here. When you click on it, is a button type. So let me back up and take that approach. Whoops, there's a grouping going on. And in fact, one thing I can do is just back up until the point, instead of making it through a copy paste or then convert to symbol. Let's see if I can get the other one. Insert, new symbol. Dave asked the question, can you use a different symbol on a different keyframe? Now, are you referring to the keyframes, probably in the original, or are you talking about the keyframes that are within the button, the up, down, over? You're probably talking about within the button. No, because the context of being within the button, you are within the symbol. And so being inside the symbol already, we are like going into the room of a house. You're already inside the house, and you can't associate different symbols here because it's all within the house, quote unquote. Only when you come outside the house can you introduce another symbol. Let's see, I think Kim asked the question, could that involve action scripting? Yes, the behavior of an interactive button doesn't involve action scripting, at least in this context, because why is that? Why won't it be action scripting that will involve this behavior? Anyone know? Right, we're not using, we're using, it's because we're using this format here, the HTML5 canvas format. Because we're using that, it will use JavaScript. Now, beforehand, in other classes, you chose this one, even though you didn't have that one option there, but you did have this one. But you would choose that one, and in choosing that one, you would have ActionScript. So those two go together. And they will then, your output will be an SWF file, and it will require an Adobe Flash Player to work. So because we chose this one, our behavior will be involved with a JavaScript instead. And so the behavior, the interactivity, will be dealing with JavaScript coding, which looks a lot like ActionScript. So let's go back and we'll try to do this idea that Phil was asking. Insert, new symbol, and then we do start button. It's a button. Click OK. Isn't it interesting that they still have these menus grayed out here? ActionScript linkage, export for ActionScript. Now, it's all grayed out because we're not using that FLA file, but it's still here, which I found really interesting. I had an error message that said start button already existed. So, see button stop. Button start is what we want. Insert, new symbol, button start. Okay. Go. Now, let's see if we can take advantage of the same size. And go back into button start. I'm double clicking here. Paste. Now we're in button start here. We paste. I copied and pasted from button stop to button start so that we could have the same dimensions. Now, double click on button stop. There we go. We already did the alignment on it. Now let's see if we can change the color. Change the color. cut into the drawing object. So that I could change that. So now we have start. And we've got stuff in other screens. So let's save our work. And if we come back out here to scene one and take, I think your idea was to have, oh yeah, I think your idea was to have these buttons overlap, and when you clicked on it, then the other button would be, it would go from start to stop and then toggle back and forth. I think that's your idea. Okay, so I'm thinking about your idea, and I'm wondering if what we could do is create scripting that would act, because here now we're dealing with two different instances of two different symbols, each of which have their own unique scripting connection, if you will. We haven't really gone into that much, but I'm wondering if what we could do is we could just use the one button and rather than two different buttons. Let's duplicate this, and let's create another one called button start stop. I'm just thinking as I'm going along here of your idea. So we'll create another button called button start stop. And I think drag that out here. Now, maybe I should have done the start, duplicate the start, because let's do that. Because that way it'll already be in the state. I'm going to duplicate this. Click on it, right click, duplicate, and call it button start stop. So we'll drag this out. We already have it in the start mode. Now, when these we can delete, because we're not going to go with that. Now, here's my idea that when we have start here, that we can, on different states of the button, instead of having behaviors associated with different buttons, instead let's see if we can do this with different states of the same button. So let's edit it. And here we've got when it's up, it'll be start. It'll just say start. Or we can even say go and then stop. Okay. So how about when it's in the, let's see, if you mouse over, let's do down. Instead of just mousing over, we you don't have to have a behavior associated with that. And so we can just bypass it. Because what that means is if your mouse goes over the top of the button, you would have an event that would take place. That would be called the mouse over event. This event here that takes place is called the mouse up event, and that's really the state when your mouse is up and you haven't clicked it. You haven't held it down and haven't clicked on it. The mouse is up. This is called the mouse up event. And so that's mouse up. So mouse down is where we have the mouse down. And so here, what we do is we say start. We say stop. It's an interesting idea that normally you implement start with one button, stop with one other button. And I'm liking this idea better because it's smaller. It just takes up less room on your maybe I'm wondering, or we could do a pause. That's another idea. So here we have start, it's one state, stop is the other state. Mouse up, it's start, mouse down, stop. Now let's save that. And let's test it, see what we get. So there's the button, and you click on it and hold it down, it goes to the other state. Let go of your button, and you're back here. Start, stop. If you just click on it and let go, it returns to the state of your button. Holding it down, go stop, letting it go start. Let's take this one step further, and what we could do is, instead of this idea of where it's here in the same place and start and then stop, what we could do is have like a pause button, and just the pause, when you press the pause, it would be paused, and you let go.
Yeah, but Chip, you're not going to want to sit there holding your mouse button down on or your mouse down on that button there to keep it in the stop showing, right?
It's a different design. I mean, one, you can hold it down, when you let go, it resumes. But it sounds like you prefer the interactivity of click on it, have it stop.
Mm-hmm.
Click on it again to have it start.
I'm thinking on the same lines as the play pause button. You hit play, excuse me, the pause button comes up, and that stays there until you hit the pause button, then the play button shows up.
All right, I heard you say that, but repeat it one more time. Say your design again.
I had to clear my throat. Sorry. Okay, just like the play pause button, like on a video or music or whatever. You hit play, and the pause button shows up. Now that's there until you hit the pause button again, and then the play button shows up. It pauses your video or your music, and the play button shows up so you can hit that to start playing it again.
All right.
Are you following?
Yeah, you want the state of the player to represent the button that gets displayed.
Right.
If it's playing, you display the pause button. If it's
Or, if you're playing it, the stop button will show. And then you stop it, then the start button would show.
okay, so while it's playing, you show the stop, and then while it's stopped, you show the start.
Correct.
Okay. So, by the way, Dave, you're asking about scripting, and it's got code snippets. You have code snippets, but they are, and that's how you do it. I mean, you can code your JavaScript, or you can use your code snippets. All right, so you want your idea is to I'm wondering if see the interesting thing about your idea is if you have the one symbol, both of them are responding to a mouse down in your idea.
Right. Correct.
And is your idea such that you put the button in the same place? So the pause button is right where the play button is, or would you say?
Exactly. Let's say you're doing a slideshow of images, and you have the start button there to begin the slideshow. You hit the start. In the same location, the button changes to red and says stop for you to be able to stop the slideshow. And then it would change back to green and say start.
All right, that was the original design. That because what you're saying is you have really two buttons that overlap each other, and there's space, and you have the start button and you have the stop button. And when you go into these, because they both, the reason why this is what you're saying is because you are describing two different scenarios where there's a mouse up. Because in one scenario, when your mouse is up, this button will show stop, because the mouse up state needs to be red and with the word stop. Well, look at this. I'm still in the mountain. I didn't realize it. I didn't realize it, but I was within the button start stop symbol. So and I didn't mean to be there. So we're on the button start stop symbol. I'm gonna back up and see if I can get back to. Okay, so here instead of I brought him over here. I really wanted to come back to here. So let's see. Probably this is the start stop button. Want to get away from this idea. It's not what you were saying. Instead, we're saying start off with stop button, and then when you click the stop button, let's do this in a different layer. So let's say we'll have stop layer. In fact, I think that's actually associated with this one. So we'll do one start layer and one stop layer. So the stop layer will have our button. It will have its own up and down. In fact, let's see, while it's up. Well, this is interesting. Your idea, we actually don't want to have in the mouse over state, so we would get rid of that. Let's move the phrase, yes. And then likewise, the mouse down. It just, because I did a move, it came over there. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is we really only have one state. Stop.
Do you know that you have, what is that, text, X'd out, or test, whatever that says? There.
Yeah. Let me delete that line and see what happens. Yeah, all right. So we'll just do this. Okay, so the reason why I got rid of the over and down is because with your idea, we only, with your idea, we only have a mouse up state. Because the moment I click down, I don't want stop to be here anymore. Instead, I want start to be here. So here we have stop. So let's make sure this is working. So when I only have a state of being up because the moment I click on it, let's see what happens when we test your idea here. I click on it, I really want it to become invisible. Maybe we're going to have to put, it might have to be like a transparent thing because that didn't work when we tested it. Because really when we click on it, we want it to go away. But in order for it to go away, we think we're going to need this frame. But if we delete it all, let's see, maybe just clear the frame. Let's see if that will give us the result of what you're asking for, because and you click on it. Yeah, David just said, what happens if you have two buttons over top of each other, which I think is the right idea, but the hit state is blank. Well, let's see, we do have the hit area. We can see. Let's try that one. This is just an empty frame. This is a see, what's weird is it doesn't even act to mouse over. That idea. Now we have the mouse over event. The second that your cursor changes from an arrow to a hand means you are in the realm of a mouse over event, meaning this area here is going to respond to the mouse over action. Ah, that's a good idea. 0% alpha. Well, you guys are smart. Great idea. Let's select. Say mouse down. Frame. Select here. See, maybe just delete. Nope, I didn't mean to do that. And so you got what you want to do is change this. Not fill and stroke. Your idea is to do alpha. It's a good idea. To have this be a symbol. Try it and see if it helps us with alpha. Just playing around, see whether or not we can get it to work like you're saying. Fillers. How do we do that one? Yeah, there you go. Not that. Convert it to symbol so you can get the animation color effect. That's how I did that. Okay, let's give that a try. Good. I just look up and think, what was I going to do? Yeah, interesting. It's repainting it. That's down. You might be getting close, though. The second I do a mouse out, it turns back to red, though. Oh, a break. Yep, sorry. Let's do a 10-minute break. And start at 10:29. Oops, not 10:29. 8:29.
Well, it's 10:29 out here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. So Dave, we set that as a mouse hit. Over here. Copy that. Paste it there. Let's do the other one there. See, now it's, whenever we create a hit, it no longer responds to the mouse over at all. That's why I pulled it out. This mouse hit, by being there, appears to just disable completely our mouse over event. It's still disabled even though I cleared that. So I'm just going to move it. And see, it comes back, the mouse over event. Yeah, it could be bugs. I think I might. When I paused the recording yesterday, I thought I was pausing it. Oh, no, that's pausing the share. I don't think there's a way for me to pause the recording. I tried it last night and it stopped the recording. Ended up making me do 2 videos. There's a pause of the share, but it's not a pause of the recording. It's what I tried to do. Dave asked the question, with Flash being a video, wouldn't they program it to do what we are trying to do? It what we're outputting is an animation in HTML. Video, I think of differently. When you think of a video, you think of this, and that creates like an MOV file. And once it becomes an MOV file, then it's just like watching a movie. There's no interaction with the MOV file. This just became M. When we publish HTML, it's interactive with the JavaScript. Now you'll see that there's some things you can't do easily in HTML that you can easily do in Swift. One of the things I was trying to research is whether or not Adobe Flash supports embedded fonts. You're able to embed fonts in your Adobe SWF animation. What I haven't yet discovered is whether or not you can do the same thing with embedding fonts in HTML. It would seem to make sense, but I don't know. Font files are typically like binary. They're not text-based. And with what we're working on, we're really exclusively text-based. The HTML documents text, the JavaScript files are text, and I just don't know that having built-in fonts into your animation works. I haven't yet discovered that one. While we're on break, we have a few more minutes. I can show you what I see. When you click on this, you'll see that you go right to a SWF file. So you think, no, I'm not interested in that because we're not doing SWF. We're doing HTML. So you come back and click again, and there it is again. So you think, all right, that's not helpful. I really want to do, and there's SWF again. So far, I have not succeeded at doing the research on embedding fonts into your animation and having it work where you output HTML. Once again, SWF. All right. One more minute. All right. So we'll come back out of the button stop where we, so far to recap, we have the down. We had to convert this into symbols in order for us to take advantage of the alpha. So let's do that to our other button. Oops. I keep, oh, it's because I see I'd gone into the group. Let's try this. I've got a couple screens here. Okay, so let's come back to our library. And now let's work on the start button. Now it's going to have to be in the same location. I'm going to work on it here. And we'll go into start button, leave it as is. But when we come to insert keyframe, when we come to the down button, we want this to go away. So I'm going to select both. Let me see. Put the symbol. Just call it start back. So when we click on properties, we're on this state here. And now I can, because it's a symbol, I can use the alpha for it to go away or to disappear. The up state and the down state, up, down. Let's see. It's really important that you convert it to a symbol so that you can get access to this effect. Only symbols have this property. The style, color effect style, is only associated with symbols, not just objects. So that's how we're able to do that. Now, if I run the movie, what do you think it's going to show? What do you expect? Now, leaving it as it is, what do you think was going to be shown? Anyone want to take a guess? Both buttons. Now, what state are these buttons in right now? Both, yep, are both in the up state. So if I mouse over, it begins to work as a mouse over event. If I click on it, it goes away. Look at that, it didn't come back. click on it. See, that one I go away. A little bit different. There we go. I don't even know what I'm doing differently for it to. So this one I can't even click anymore. All right, well, we're getting closer. Hold it down. Yeah, it's very flaky behavior. It makes it look like it might be doing it very cool. So right now, it's up in the air as to how that's working, but at least we're getting closer. Now, let's see. What would be the next step? If we, so we've saved, I'm going to just delete. Let's see, we're going to scene one. We've got stop. Oh, I think I got them both on the scene one. So stop one, what we want to do is select the start. Delete the start one off the stop because I don't want the start button to be present on the stop layer. So now we're on this start layer, and now I'm going to do Command B to paste because this is where I want it. Now, on and off. Here we turn on and off. All right, now let's bring, let's see, the stop down here. We got our snap on. Okay. I think we want start to be on the bottom. We just dragged it down, click and drag, stop, start. Okay, so we've got two layers. We've got the stop button on the top layer, and we've got start on the bottom layer. They both are in the same place. So let's save this. And let's run it and see how we're doing. Okay, you expect to see the stop first because that's on top. Now, if I click on it, what do you think is going to happen? Because now we have an interactive button. We have two interactive buttons right on top of each other. I'm going to click it. Look at that. I clicked it. And the other button is still in an up position. So the stop button went transparent on us, revealing the start button on the next layer. And given that the start and stop button both inherit or occupy the same space, the object, the button that is getting all the attention is actually the stop button. The start button is just being revealed. Now when I let off, move out, then we're back to the up state of the stop button. But what we really wanted to do is keep it in the down state. Now I don't know why. This acts much, this just doesn't seem to be acting consistently, because sometimes I can holding it down, move out, and then I'll go over really fast. You know, it's holding it now, but it just acts a little bit unusually. All right, let's go back to our example here. Mouse down, you can see the start behind it. All right, so we've got the start and stop. See, this design might not work because when we mouse up on the stop key, it actually is coming back to this state here. So yes, we're going transparent, but the moment that the mouse out or up, it returns to this state. And the design that you had recommended we try was when you mouse, when you click it, it changes to the other one. And then when you click it again, it reverts back. Yeah, it might have to happen in manually written code, as Dave says. So, talking about code, we have our button here, and I have to turn that off, lock it. We're going to click on it and see it here. A toggle snippet. David was asking about a toggle snippet. So let's go look at the snippets. Click on Window, Code Snippets. We looked at this yesterday. Thank you. We don't want to do ActionScript. We want to do these. Stop at this frame. Now, if you look at that code, I double-clicked on that, and that introduced a new actions layer. And here, if you go into the actions window, you click on that, you can see the little A in there. Even though we are in HTML5 Canvas, they have an A. The A usually represents ActionScript, but we're using A again here. Go to Window, and We want to go into actions, window actions here. So what you see here is on this frame, this action is going to happen. Now, you might be confused by what this is all about. The good news is if it's a line that starts, or if it's a set of lines that starts with a forward slash followed by an asterisk, it'll go all the way to the next asterisk, which is also followed by a forward slash. So what this means is this is a comment. It really doesn't have any effect whatsoever on the coding. It's only for an area that allows people to read. This is for human reading only. So in fact, you can even delete it. It's the same effect. So that is the snippet for on this frame. That's referring to the animation, the object of the animation, which is what's going on. And then this here is a function called stop. And these here are parentheses, and typically you would put parameters in there. In other words, variable information. And you can do one or more items in a list. When it's empty like that, that means this is a function that requires no parameters. So this would occur right there on frame 1. Now, normally you would not do that with the button. The effect of it is doesn't have an effect there. So, but I just am showing you some of these commands that are available. Click here to go to a frame and stop. See what that looks like. It wants us to click on the object. We haven't yet given it a name, so let's say this is the name of the instance. I think it's because we had given one to the previous one, but we deleted that one. So we'll go start button. This is kind of the nickname. See, it's an instance of button start, but this is kind of like your name, like Drew or Kim. And it's different than the name of the symbol that it came from. This is kind of like it's like, let's say you're in a family, you're a child of your parents, well, you're an instance of the Browns, but your name is Chip, something like that. Okay, analogy. And these actions are associated with the, so this went into a button down mode there. See, if we go too deep when you go into the drawing object. So we've got selected. So with the object selected, Lots of different things to click on here. That's the text. Drawing object. That's in the drawing object. This is if you see. Yeah, let's say this is the start button. And this is even different because there we said it's an instance of the start button or start button. If you look at the library now, so now we create a new one there. Anyways, I'm just showing you these I will click and make sure we've got the start button selected. Got a little too deep there. All right. So let's do here, select. I came back out. It made sense that instead of being inside that, I'm actually out at this level. Now I can do that. There we go. Forgot that we had to be out of the scene in order to bring up any of the action script or the JavaScript. So this is a similar function, a little bit more difficult to comprehend. The this is referring to the animation. This is the thing, that the exact instance name, and this is a function call to add event listener. So what it's doing is waiting for a click to occur, and then if it occurs, then it calls this function here. And that's this function here. So it takes this, binds it, and then passes it. And down in here, it says go to and stop on frame 5. And that's how that particular action works. Go to frame and play, go to frame and stop. We're looking for a swap type event. See, this might be an option where we use the option of making it visible. This is where I was thinking it might be necessary to make the stop button hidden and then the start button visible. So that's there. Trying to do your idea. This is, we're dealing with an HTML canvas project. See that canvas right there? And so that means when we publish, when we do this run thing, we're actually publishing HTML5 and JavaScript and going right into the page. See the HTML file? And if you do a right click and inspect element, you'll see that it's referring to the button sample JavaScript that we've created. And these event listeners are here, and you've got the mouse down, mouse move, mouse up. These are the component modules that handle these commands. So the idea I was having here is maybe use this show an object thing event when you do a mouse down in that state. So this is almost a click of it. So one thing we can do is you have to select the object. You always have to have an object instance selected before you can bring up code, because the code is tied to what you've got selected. Meaning, if you don't have anything selected, then the code can't be glued onto it. But I've got it selected here. You can see start button is selected. And this mouse click event can now be brought up. So well, that's left over from before. So what I'm thinking is on click, see, we can take this code, cut it. No, no. There we go, just click and drag. Get rid of all this. Okay, so here on click, this is how you do the event handler. On click, I'm trying to do the toggle here. Get rid of this. By the way, if you do 2 slashes, that's also a comment. Let's get rid of that. Get rid of this. Okay, so if we click it, oh, see, this might be interesting. I'm going to copy that, paste it. Kind of trying to do the sims. All right, so here's the idea. Do a click, and then you make the start button visible and the stop button not visible. Now that's not really a toggle though. Toggle would like keep track of its previous state. Click on it. Stop button is visible. Stop button is not visible. Well, that's, I'm trying to get it to work like you want it to work, and this is like a toggle. You click it, but not yet. Not yet really there. So mouse click event. We don't want mouse over event and mouse out event. You've seen it when you do a mouse out. It's right. Double click event. We're not interested in double click, so this is a single click. This is if the person double clicks. Now let's move on and see what else we have to choose from. Move horizontally. I need to select this. Oh yeah, you're going to come out of the button in order to do this. Got to be out of the button, back into this level, so that you can select the button in order to then choose this is just movement. Not interested in that. Move vertically, rotate once. Not interested in any of these. Animate horizontally. These are more involved than other ones. Create.js, that's that company that built the software that Double Flash was using. So let's see. Remember how we looked at the stop and movie click? It was this dot stop. Let's go back into our action code. Let's see. No. Let's say this. Let's have this associated with the stop button. On click, we make it start button visible. Or we can just make the stop button, let's see. Start button visible, stop button. We turn off the stop button. And because the start button is on the layer beneath it, we really don't need to make it visible because it's just there. All we're trying to do, this is similar to our button down state on click. But I think this is going to be closer to what we want because we are only interested in the click event. We really don't want to be tied to the mouse down event because the second you let go of the mouse down, it becomes mouse up for the for the stop button. But if we can just worry about a click, then see, a single click makes it a single click will make the stop button hidden. Now, the other thing I wanted to do is to stop this dot stop the animation. So when we click on the stop button, see this is the stop button, and when we have an event listener of the click, when that occurs, it jumps down here and starts doing this. And what this will do is make the stop button invisible, and it will stop the animation. That's kind of what we want. We want to not see the stop button, and we want to stop the animation. Now it's the next click where we want to reverse that and see. Okay, let's do this. Let's copy this. All right, so if I click on the stop button, it will make all this happen, but let's change this. How about the start button? If you click on the start button, you want the stop button to come back. And the animation to go. Pretty sure you got that right. So can you see the two different opposites things going on here? Here we have an event handler set up to, when clicked upon, when the stop button is clicked on, it calls this. And it turns itself, makes itself invisible. This dot stop, this is referring to the animation. This is referring to the instance called stop button. And this is the state or the attribute or the property of that button. So we turn it off. Then we stop the animation. Yeah, that's all going on. Now, what about the start button? Well, the start button is different. It has an event listener too. My concern is if the start button is underneath the stop button, that it won't be able to respond. These are overlapping areas. I'm not sure if this is going to work where we have overlap in the same area, because really the stop button is on top. But even though it's invisible, I don't think that will enable us to get down to this event at the start button. But so I'm not sure if this will work yet either. Start, click, and then if the start button is clicked on, how's this function here? This turns back on the stop button, makes it visible, goes after that, and then this makes it go. Now we have these two different function event handlers set up. 5, 6. And let's go ahead and run this. Let's see. If the action script, the JavaScript ran, It's hard to tell. Oh, yeah, yeah. Hard to tell. Yeah, type here. Not read property out of it unless undefined. Okay, so it's complaining because I've typed in something that it doesn't know anything about. So let's move this down here. Okay, now the start button. So we click there. This is called button 1. That's the instance name it knows about. Turn it off. Yeah, Drew says if then else statement would solve the problem, I believe. We're in button start here. No, I had 2 start buttons here. Well, maybe that's when I dove down into the other one. Where you find out what the name is, you click on it and look up here. So that's the start button. This one's button 1. So this is, I'm going to just get rid of. This one, button start is it's a start button is its name. This here, sure that we it's good. So that's button stop. We'll call this one stop. This is its stop button. And that's going to solve the error message we got because I think we were already referring to something called stop button, but we hadn't yet named it. So I kind of assumed that it had been named. Start button, stop button. And we'll keep them separate for a second here. Let's go back into our, I'll get rid of the code snippets because we've kind of gone through those already. And let's go into the code. Got to click on the little A there. So now we have stop button. Now it's going to be happy, I think, at least for the fact because we hadn't created that. It's got stop button, and then here you got start button. So let's come back to here because I want to control it with these scripts. I want to control it with this because I think this is more in line with what needs to happen. So what I'm going to do is go into these buttons, and I'm going to take out these other things that we were experimenting with on the state, and just remove them and come back to this. You might say, well, wait a minute, we're going backwards, but not really, because we're trying to do with a script what we were a minute ago doing with the functionality that was built into this tool. So let's get out of button stop, and then let's come over here to button start, or I should say start button, and let's go into it, double click, and we want to do the same thing here. We want to, let's see, either clear it or delete it. And then delete this one. I think maybe I selected this thing. It's already clear. Faster than the speeding bullet. Okay. We have now stop button. It only has the one state of up. And we have the start button. Let's see. Start. It's kind of funny. I had the button turned down in its up state. Okay, we got stop. We got start. All right, so now we come up here to our action script and go into our actions. That stop button, if clicked, then make it turn it off and stop the animation. The other one is start button. If it's clicked, it will turn on the stop button. Visible equals true. Now start the animation. So right now I've got the two separated here because I'm not yet sure how to deal with the idea of overlapping them. So I think it's a little easier for us to just snap the grid here. Well, I'm running out of time. I'm sorry, I'm running over here. So let's just probably wrap it up here. Well, can't get this to do what he wanted. Okay, uncaught type error. This dot go is not a function. Ah, I can solve that. There, actions. See, it doesn't like that right there. So let's see, go to and play. Let's see. I can't remember the command for the stop go. No, let's see if that's we want to stop this movie, put the go to frame and stop. Here we go. This is it's play. I'll bet you. Yeah. Anyway, I'm 99% sure it's actually play that we need to have. Not go. Play. All right. Let's try that. I'm pretty sure that was it. Stop. Start. Stop. Start. Inspect element. See, we got rid of the bug. We don't have that bug anymore. But I'm expecting that when I click on this, it should turn off. Or click on this, it should turn off. Because I have an interactive event set up to do that. Clicking the frame, going to actions, stop, 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 start button. These all look good. Start button is its name here. Stop button is its name. Now looks good. Let's see. I was hoping we were going to get this done so I could let you use it. It was a good idea. It's been a good exercise in trying out different ideas to see how it works. All right. Well, it's late, and I better call it a night. So I'm sorry, Phil. I tried my best to do your idea. Those are some good ideas. I think we got really close. At least we went over some concepts on scripting and the states of buttons. I'll play with it some more and see if I can get it to do what we were suggesting we do. Yeah, you bet. Thanks, everybody. Have a good mod into mod. I'll be available on Saturday. Either one. 802-6069 is my phone number. All right, I'll stop the recording.